One.
Yes, good afternoon, countrymen and women. I will start by recognizing the presence of the honorable members of parliament, the Honorable Mtoto Kafwaya of Lunte, Honorable Stephen Kampiong of Shuangandu, Honorable Kabasuka Mpampi of Mwansabombwe, Honorable Francis Kapianga of Mpika, and Honorable Emmanuel Musonda Pankata of Pososhi, Honorable Anthony Kasandwe of Bangweulu, and Honorable Mulenga Kampamba of Karulushi. We're expecting more members to come in. We want to speak to the nation concerning the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 7, which is scheduled to be tabled on the floor of the House on Monday, 15 December 2025. So, members of parliament have assembled to speak to the nation because they feel strongly about this particular amendment bill, given that the bill that is coming on the floor of the House is the same bill that was invalidated by the Constitution, by the Concord. It's the same bill that was declared to be now and void. We want to bring it to the attention of the nation that the process currently being carried out at Parliament is illegal, because the bill that is being discussed or interrogated is the same bill that was declared to be now and void. The process in constitution making is as important as the content. And this is the argument that will continue to advance, because that is the correct position. A constitution is a law that is written by the people themselves. Bill 7 was not written by the Zambian people, and we want every Zambian to be very clear about this. Bill 7 was not written by the Zambian people. Bill 7 was written by President Hakainde Hichilema with his friends. The Concord judgment invalidated Bill 7, or the process leading to Bill 7, because the Zambian people who should have written this particular law did not participate. The court condemned that particular process because it originated from the executive, which is not supposed to be the case. The Concord recommended that an independent body of experts should be the one to spearhead the process of consultation. As if to fool the Zambian people, the president went ahead and appointed a technical committee, knowing very well that the process of Bill 7 had already commenced in Parliament, and Bill 7 was already before Parliament. He did not even think about withdrawing that particular bill. So that this technical committee and the process they were carrying out was an academic exercise. When they watching Pelesha, when they got to the end, they abandoned the report, abandoned the bill, and went back to the original Bill 7. Zambians must ask, what have we achieved? What have we done in compliance with what the court recommended? So what was expected was an initiation of a totally new process. Had President Hakainde Hichilema withdrawn that Bill 7 that was on the floor of the House, he would have initiated a totally new process, which process was now going to be spearheaded by a team of experts that is independent. The Zambian people themselves would have written the constitution. The team of experts was not to go with a list of clauses already drafted by government. No, no, no. The team of experts was to go to the Zambian people, speak to the Zambian people, get the views of the Zambian people about which clauses, in their view, needed amendments. So where we are dealing with a bill that was crafted by President Hakainde Hichilema with his friends. That is the reason why we have decided, on behalf of the Zambian people, as the representatives of the Zambian people, to say we will not vote for this particular bill. We will stay away from that illegal process. Otherwise, we risk being cited for contempt, because President Hakainde Hichilema and his government have decided that they can disobey or disrespect a court judgment at will and with impunity. They've demonstrated the highest levels of arrogance by disrespecting a court judgment. So what we have this afternoon, we have members of parliament, they will take turns to talk to first the process, and in any case, even the clauses contained in this illegal document called Bill 7, so that the Zambian people can see, now that the president and his team are arrogant and adamant and would like to bring this bill on the floor of the House, the members of parliament seated here and those that will come later would like to expose Bill 7 for what it is, so that even as it comes on the floor of the House, the Zambian people should know exactly what the UPND government would like to do. So without much ado, therefore, ukumitasha mwebantu bonse mwebale umfwa kuchilimba na pachitunshi inokutila ubwafya tukwete muri kino cyalo natukwata obutungulushi bwa Hakainde Hichilema abo bashindike ulupapuro lwa cyalo ifunde lya cyalo bale salula ifunde lya cyalo kintu kyayishibikwa ukuti ulupapuro lwa cyalo lukalamba ulubaleti constitution lufira okufuma ku bantu efira mu kisungu lutila we the people of Zambia nomba Bill 7 ifumi nefe kuli ba president nefe musafyabo baikele fya kapukutu nokumfano kuti katuchitefi nefi pakuti fika tupususheko mu 2026 ichino atumuno kuti abekala cyalo n'abatubwelamu kanshi ukuti atupusuke katulete po constitution tubike motuntu tumo utupinga tubombera no kutupususha bakupinga pusuka. So iyi constitution walete define kuli mwebantu iyo constitution ifilo kufuma ku bantu nomba Bill 7 tafuma ku bantu tapali na ngumo baikana na ngwe panshi elyo koti yalanda pa butatutu kutila kwena bane ifimulea na Bill 7 Bill 7 mulea nayo taikwete ifunde mukati iyo mwalika lokana ipusha abantu mwaikele fya kapukutu nokumfwana nokutila katuchitefi mwalanda pa delimitation efya shala tamuli kuchishinka iyo. So kanshi mwebe na Zambia iyo Bill 7 ilesa ku parliament chinto cyo bayipindi balefo kubomfya nge pusukilo bapusukile mu pakuti efuma mu buteko iyo n'abalufyanye fintu impanga yonse kubulimi kubuyantanshi na fyonse iyo CDF balelanda nabesa muno kutaka bafu iyo ekubutukila ukufufumukanya ulupapuro lwa cyalo pakuti benga pusuka leo tachabafu iyo. So kanshi mkwai pali kano kashita na laita Honorable Kafwaya just to present his debate on Bill 7. Honorable Kafwaya.
Natokera sana mwewa kalamba wakumpela kwa kashita akakuti na inena alanda koto tuli kumano. Now I think it's important, by the way, let me adopt the protocol that you established, observing that if I do start going through, I may take a lot of time. I wanted to begin by saying, let me remind the countrymen and women that UPND are liars. UPND bakufi. You know, we have to be clear that UPND is a group of liars. They lied that they were going to ensure that a 25 kg bag of mealie meal would cost 50 kwacha. Mealie meal is now more costly than it was, and it is 3 times more than what they promised. UPND are liars. They lied that a liter of petrol was going to cost 13 kwacha. What is the cost of the liter of petrol today? UPND are liars. They lied that the cost of a 50 kg bag of fertilizer would be 250 kwacha when they come into power. What is the cost of fertilizer today? They can't even explain it now. In the National Assembly, you'll be told something else. The one who assures you that it has come down to 750 would go and apologize and begin to explain what 750 means. UPND are liars. UPND are liars. They lied that they were going to unite this nation. Today, as Zambia, as we stand in Zambia, this country is more divided than it has ever been divided at any point of our history. The country has become so divided that even the president now believes he's hated because of where he comes from. Now, that is the lowest. The person who should be the anchor of national unity believes that the Zambian people, excuse me, the Zambian people hate him because of where he comes from. That's really deplorable. But the president has forgotten that people hate the high cost of living. People don't hate where he comes from. They don't hate him. What they hate is the high cost of living. The president has forgotten to recognize that what people hate is the crippling load shedding. It is not about him and where he comes from. The president has forgotten that people hate corruption, where ministers would be investigated at the Anti-Corruption Commission and their identities hidden 4 years after they assumed office. This is what people hate, and not where the president comes from and who he is. You see, people hate the giving away of their minerals through the giving away of Mopani and several other entities. And we hear there are further negotiations to give away further mineral wealth. This is what people hate. People hate the poor governance that has been exhibited during the UPND government. In all the three arms of government, there's been gross poor governance. Now we are dealing with the pain carrier. For the first time, people are learning new words. Pain carrier due to poor governance. This is what people hate. You see, people hate the crippling of the freedom of worship. You cannot stop a gathering at the OIDC, which was properly mobilized by Apostle Sunday Sinyangwe, and think people are going to be happy. That is at the back of stopping a prayer meeting for the late president with a bishop in his private office in Kabwe. Before that, you stopped him from meeting pastors for a prayer meeting in Indona. You also summoned a priest for delivering a homily. You don't end there. You do not end there. You jail a pastor in Kitwe for speaking for his people. You also cordon the Cathedral of the Child Jesus, preventing an archbishop from conducting prayers after you called him a Lucifer. These are the things that people hate. I want to recommend to the president to begin to see these things as the real problems in our country. Now, instead of solving these problems, where is the concentration of the UPND government? It's on this bill, Bill 7. It is called the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill 2025. This is where all the concentration of government is right now. And I've heard ministers, I've heard proponents of UPNG, I've heard all sorts of supporters speaking about this bill to convince the Zambian people that this is a good bill. But you see, how much resources have been wasted with a technical committee whose work has counted for nothing. Because tell me, the work of the technical committee, where has it gone? Nowhere. Because we went back to the assembly to go and deal with this same original bill. Next week on Monday, this is the bill which is coming to the floor of the House on second reading. The same old bill. So that technical committee has gobbled resources which should have gone into the economy. Resources which should have gone to improving the social standing of the Zambian people. To what end? Politically. You see, we may ignore all of these small things. But this constitution, if this amendment, if it goes through, it's going to swallow all of us. It will swallow UPNG, it will swallow PF, it will swallow Zambians who do not participate in politics. It is certainly just going to swallow everybody. Let me tell you, my brother, if you are aspiring to contest elections as a UPNG in Monza Central, or even Choma Central, or any constituency, or Lunte, when UPNG does its adoptions and they don't pick you, that is it. You will not be a Binwa Mtundu. You will not be a Chondesaka. You will have no way of contesting elections as an independent. You can't even cross to another political party. This is what UPNG is doing in this particular bill. Now, is that the promotion of democracy? When you go to Article 8 of the Constitution, which talks about democracy, the development of democracy, is this bill going to enhance democracy? No, you are lying. But what about you, the PF member, who doesn't even have a party because the party has been disorganized by UPNG? Where are you going to contest elections? If you are Brian Mundubile, let me tell you, when this bill goes through, you won't be able to contest elections. Even if you are a Chavinga, even if you are a given Rubinda, as long as you are a non-PF member, there's no way you will contest elections, because this bill takes away the right for you to contest elections, because you have to resign from PF 2 months before nominations. And what this bill is doing, it is even adding the number of months that you have to get paid as a member of parliament. It will add, after we adjourn, or after the parliament dissolves, you will continue getting paid. So you have an incentive to stay in your job, because you'll be kept longer on the payroll, but yet you won't be able to go to another party which has proper papers, or which is not disorganized by the incompetent UPNG. So this thing is aimed at destroying democracy completely, taking away democracy completely. If you, the only way this democracy will survive is by ensuring that this bill does not go through. I will speak very specifically about one object. You see, this bill, object number A, is saying revise the composition of the National Assembly to provide for the increase in the number of constituency-based seats from 156 to 211 to actualize the delimitation report by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. This is very important. Very, very important. What this bill is saying, that the UPNG wants to actualize the delimitation report which has been supplied to them by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Now, I told you that UPNG are liars. Just over this simple matter, UPND has been lying. One minister appeared on a debate and he was asked, where is the delimitation report which you want to actualize by increasing the number of constituencies by 55? Where is the delimitation report? The minister said, no, we don't have the delimitation report. Go to ECZ. Go and see the ECZ chairperson. She's available for you. Now, the minister doesn't have this report, but yet this bill came from cabinet. The minister has not seen this report, but yet this bill came from cabinet. Cabinet is unaware about this delimitation report, according to that minister. But if you are the following day, the very following day, the Electoral Commission was appearing before this same select committee, which is considering the illegal bill. And they were asked by one good honorable member, when are you going to provide a list or a report which shows the constituencies that are due for delimitation? You should have seen the fidgeting from the chief executive officer. The man said, no, it's a 2019 report which was submitted to government, and we revised it, and then we resubmitted it. Listen to me. If you are basing on the 2019 report, we saw the 2019 report. It was brought to the government when we were in cabinet, and we know the number of constituencies which were due for delimitation. They were just 11. 11 only. Where has the 44 come from? Where? And if it is true that you revised the report, how do you revise a delimitation report without going to the ground? Who gave you the names of those constituencies? Well, how did you draw up the maps? How did you verify those maps? What type of thinking is this? What type of government is this? Which can't, even on a simple matter, you can't be truthful. This is way over the top. UPND, you need to change. UPND, you need to transform yourselves. For me, I always recommend UPND change. This is how far you have gone into cheating. Produce the report which makes a recommendation that 55 constituencies are due for delimitation. You can't do that. Another minister, just yesterday, was answering to another one. He was asked, where is the report, delimitation report? But what did he do? This one now said, no, you have it all twisted, it's wrong. What we do is first you secure the number from the constitution. After you secure the number, then you take to ECZ and you say, now find the constituencies. Goodness. What type of thinking is this? What type of thinking is this? This is how much UPND is prepared to lie in order to pass an illegal bill. I want to declare that I will not participate in the deliberation of this illegal bill at any point whatsoever. I had thought about making a submission to the committee. I withdrew my submission and I will not be in the assembly when this illegal bill will be considered, because I don't want my name to go down as one of those names which even had that contemplation that there is a process going on. This process is really bad. It reflects the standards of UPND, which have really been the lowest in this country. So I want to assure the Zambian people that I will not participate and I will not vote for Bill 7. I will stick with the people which people I think should be managed or governed a little better than what UPND is doing right now. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Kafwaya. Just before I call upon Honorable Kampiongo, I just wanted to say to mention something very important that Honorable Gafoya pointed out. You see, due to poor performance by the UPND, they found themselves in a very difficult position. They've lost favor even in their strongholds. So UPND is trying to use this constitution-making process to resolve problems within the UPND. Honorable Gafoya pointed to the issue of delimitation. So basically the UPND, as we all know, is in problems. It's in problems because internally youths have arisen and they would like to contest for elections in the upcoming elections, replacing the older members of parliament. Now, President Hakainde Hichilema has failed to handle internal challenges within the UPND. So he wants to use the constitution, he wants to use delimitation to resolve problems within the UPND. If the delimitation process was objective, the report would have been out there. They've been challenged to produce a report so that we assess and evaluate the rationale used to come up with 55 constituencies. He's unable to do that. They are basically going to these small constituencies within their strongholds where there's infighting between the younger prospecting MPs and the older ones. So President Hakainde Hichilema, you can't use this very important process to resolve problems in your party. We urge you to resolve problems in your party, not using this particular route. These 55 constituencies, the reason why it has remained a secret, as if it's a cult document, as one senior lawyer observed, is because there's no objectivity. You've gone to the extent of ensuring that once the adoptions have been done, none of the people who've been left out can stand as independents. You are bringing it in the constitution to make it difficult.
Impossible.
It is so undemocratic. Zambians isuke nyamenso. Wa President Hakainde Hichilema na wakwato wafia within his own political party. Imisepela na shima, shilefo kuiminina, shifu miepo ama MPs waba ingileka. But President Hakainde Hichilema never feels to resolve problem within the party. Numbale foku bomfia ulupa pulolo chalo, ukuleta ma constituencies mulewa mwenyo wafia. Elo kami kumwenso batino kuti balabantu balasha bakemina pa independent no kuina. Bale foku chinga ko completely confused pulolo chalo. It's very, very unfortunate. President Hakainde Hichilema, Constitution is a very important document. All laws of the nation flow from the Constitution. It's the grand norm, so we can't reduce it to a level where you begin to resolve or solve problems in your party using this very important document. So we are here to expose you. We are here to expose Bill 7 for what it is. And this is exactly what the members of parliament are doing. At this juncture, I want to invite Honorable Kampiongo to also add his thoughts to this illegal bill. Bill 7.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mungubile, Parliamentary Coordinator, for this opportunity. I recognize my colleagues who are here and those that are joining. I will slightly veer off from the bill to just remind citizens on something that we should not forget about. We shall be celebrating Christmas this year for the first time without one of our gallant sons of this country, who we lost 6 months ago, who was not only our leader in the party, but also our 60th president, Dr. Edgar Chagwalo. Yes, we could have been reflecting on his life as we celebrate Christmas, in a dignified way. But we can't. Because as I speak, this man still remains in the morgue, freezing. His family is stuck in the Republic of South Africa, mourning away from their home country. This I can only describe as a failure of collective wisdom. And all of us must reflect on this failure of wisdom. So, as if that's not enough, his daughter, who opted to join politics, started as a councillor in one of the wards in Chawama constituency, and later became area member of parliament for the same constituency, Chawama constituency. Has had a seat declared vacant and constitutionally. And now here is where you can see the hypocrisy. If indeed this so-called Bill 7 is a genuine attempt to cut down on by-elections, one would ask whether indeed it's reasonable, sensible to have elections a few weeks before the general elections in Chawama constituency. Just because the honorable member of parliament there has been mourning her father who is yet to be buried. Ubuntu wile kwisa mnonchalo. Ubuntu nse wile kwino Christian which we are supposed to be. Wile. If we are saying let's cut down on by-elections, was that by-election in Chawama necessary? I would have liked to say more about that by-election if the matters were not in court. But where I come from, we say, Ichikwanka wachimwena kumampalanya. And so, if indeed it's a genuine desire for the nation to cut down on by-elections, this is where we are supposed to be demonstrating. My colleagues sitting with me, the three of them, actually the four of us, I know Honorable Mpakata is somewhere, and our 5 of our colleagues who are not here, could have been sent away from parliament despite being voted for by our people, gone through petitions which were petitions by the UPND. Someone on one announcement wanted all of us to be kicked out of parliament, and by-elections would have been held. That's the attitude we need to deal with first and foremost before we even touch the constitution. It's the attitude of leadership. Some of the by-elections we have had have been unnecessary by-elections. We want to embrace the youths. How are we treating the youths who want to be in leadership? If one of the youths, two of the youths today are no longer in parliament for just expressing themselves, because youths want to express themselves. Honorable Mnia Zulu is behind the walls of prison. Honorable Mabonga is out of. Those are youths that are supposed to be examples of fellow youths in parliament. So you cannot claim to say we are curing the issue of by-elections without changing the attitudes. What we are seeing actually is entrenching by-elections. Because now you want to say, if a member elected by the people is either no more by nature, through death, or a party just differs with an honorable member, Honorable Kafai wants to speak his mind in Parliament, he would be kicked out, and the party can pick anyone, whether the people like that person or not, and impose that person on the Constitution. What sort of democracy is that? What sort of representative democracy are we looking at? So first of all, we are, as we end the year, we appeal to our shepherds, genuine men and women of God, not those that are speaking from the stomach, because those that are speaking from the stomach are very difficult to follow. They can even attack their fellow men of God for a piece of silver and a cup of tea at State House. They will balalusa mano bashima pepo wa motule mwana no kurusa mano pale tontonkanisha mara nama families bakwatande sura shisho ya changes ngama families echingalenga kuti balatukana bashima pepo banabo bashima pepo wecharo chacho kutira bantu awashika umulandu wa rupapulo usho rupapulo ngalo frustrate ulwa ingafe mwilongono kuti walaita bandusa mkulumba yo balatukana banabo. This kind of moral degradation in the country must be a worry, must be a source of worry to every Zambian. Tufure to apepela pokutila lesa libina chalo na chipinda minwa pantu techitwe mwana kwa chichalo chilinomo umuntu walikateka wa chalo afwa ekwa ile kuchipatale kwa butukirenge mbutushi ataya kusuke ayafwa mwafiko kushika mpaka lelo mwakonka nyakuno kulamula ndapo mwishire ya fungana lesa ni $1 lesa ni $1 eko mfuma batila ichiringo lingira ko munobe na iwecho bakakulingira ndela ndechipantu ifa nipa munobe banalungwa basende chisendo chamfa ya balume babonu lupwa balungu na ifwe bonse fwe bakumene kuli balungu ichi chisendo twenda nacho chila bushiku mpaka tukababike panshi kanshi lero mule chisende kokwa ati tubombele pamo mwabana mwatontonkanya ko muri tompo yenu mu mitwe yenu ukutila abantu tulefo kubombela nabo pangana ngulupapulo na ngukuchile vile mulefo kuchitefya kuyi efe mulefo abantu uteko bulawama twalishwa authority for iwama ngayigira fe mutwe na abantu lero ayilo nalela ndamunga ndamafundo kutila nomba twalabwelela kubantu batumenchitwe ube niwe kateka ube niwe MP ube niwe kansela twalabwelela nomba kubene bamaka balabe ne bachuliro kwa bula malaiti balabe ne mchishi chokwa kuno kulipira ndana mapamata mwaka nshito abadira tumona bashima famu bafika kuchimishi kilishimanshi ukwa kuno kufola matawa kuma muteko ya kurumoku ero church tikapo mwaka wa kwambira ko ni uno bashima famu bachula mfula ya shupa lesa pale mfula ya lokabalima ukuti bakufole fiefe bali pafya bulimo fyabo yaba ya kushipa na we minister wa pelwa maka kuno shipali kushimilimi ukalaji ama bwenge pachimishi nabana bobe bashima famu bale chula muri bantu bamusango shaka mukaino mwako kuchatwa isa mutipera mavoti tikonkanyepo ekwenyu yakuise. So icharo china mafia ayakala mbotu furokolole shapo tuambo kulaila ndafe pakupere nchito baya fwe bashima politician. How aba ichibalire bandokutala abasambirira abaturolesha pakumi bwesu mupatala bali lokuti twanako kuombya ule. We have volunteered long enough to help our fellow citizens, and government don't care about us. And you can have a leader telling them that no, we didn't invite you to work, to volunteer. What sort of people are we? But yet we are very quick to give ourselves jobs. More than 100 MPs. Yes. Your children are crying. You know how it takes to, how costly it is to produce one doctor. Just one. And yet these young men and women have volunteered to help and say, when the government gives an opportunity for us to be employed, we shall wait and continue saving the lives of our fellow citizens. Today they've become foolish. But we can focus on wrong priorities. On wrong things, money can be found. My colleagues have lamented on the technical committee. And I want to say this here, that those of you who may think we are just politicking about this Bill 7, its legality, we could have been telling you a different story today if indeed the president who realized that that Bill 7 was unconstitutional and he made the wise decision to appoint a technical committee to go and gather views. We could have had problems with the composition of the technical committee, but I'll tell you this, me and my colleagues seated here, we would have been telling the Zambians a different story today if indeed that report that came from the technical committee and the draft bill that they handed over to the president is what ended up at Parliament, because that would have given a semblance of legitimacy to the process. We could have been saying a different story here, and I'm speaking on behalf of my colleagues. We could have said, they've listened to us, they've listened to the people, and they've listened to the court. Let's give them a benefit of doubt and see what the draft bill which has come from the technical committee is containing. With a report from the Electoral Commission of Zambia indicating the reviewed boundaries and constituencies that were marked for delimitation, it would have been a simple and straightforward matter. You didn't even need to be calling our members in the night and meeting them in dark corners and giving them handouts. It would have been the same way we handled the 2016 constitution. And witnesses are there. I've always spoken about Honorable Mutati. I've spoken about Honorable Ruben Mutoropi. He may be a failing Minister of Agriculture, but he was one of those leaders that worked tirelessly to see the 2016 Constitution enacted. So, this desperation we are seeing must worry Zambians. We are not unreasonable as members of parliament. We could have gone to our party and we had our position very well known insofar as this constitutional making process is concerned. We could have sat with our leaders and we could have looked at matters differently. But it's not to be. Man has been spent, man has been wasted. a report generated by the technical committee, and a draft bill. Now, how can a draft bill fit into another bill? So even an attempt to try and get the technical committee to appear before the select committee at Parliament has not yielded anything. How many witnesses have appeared? Which witness was sent around the country to go and... The technical committee has just been reduced to be a mere witness at a select committee. It has never happened in this nation. Never. And there's no procedure whatsoever that provides for what has happened. So Zambians must be demanding answers to find out why the money was wasted to constitute that technical committee in the first place. And what will happen to those 2 documents that were handed over to the president? These Zambians must be asking. I was cautioning my fellow honorable colleagues yesterday in Parliament. Like they say in one of the languages, Chawana Muzako Chapita, Mawa Chipai. We who were former ministers in the cabinet of Dr. Edgar Chabanongo, who stayed in office for 3 months prior to 2016 general elections, after the new constitution of 2016 was enacted, were on the belief that the constitution was correctly interpreted. Years down the line, some stakeholders in the nation, including UPND, through their Secretary General then, went to the Constitutional Court and petitioned the Constitutional Court, alleging that we who stayed in the office stayed illegally. And the Constitutional Court adjudicated on the matter and found us wanting. We were not happy with the judgment, because at that point some of our colleagues had already left public office and had ceased to be members of Parliament. And like some of us who still continued because we were re-elected. When that judgment was pronounced, we had been in office with all the authority. If we behaved like our colleagues are doing today, we could have, I can't imagine what would have happened to us after we left office. Whoever knew our children would take on our lungu, would take on. Twaikere mieshita muteko pantu twamuna kuti olupapulo efe lwatandikwe. Baisire twala omulandu kuteko walolesha pamafunde balazi notubungwe tumbyo kubikako na ba UPND kuti baye bapitulukemo. Ikoti lasangira kuti afa baikere mu muteko twali lufyenye tinachimwa tinalakwa twali mu muteko na makana tukwata aturafu yanga kwenda bambi balikere bayo bakateka bebere ya mukayiteka itu muteko bare tutusha tutetwe mu kule chinefu ife twakwete ntungulushi ya ishibe bwa mafunde fo yatantikwa abalinga bakalugulula abamulandu balimba loya baidika chakalungu batile bane ikoti ngali apingula na utemwana ngutakutemenwe kukunke for continent ili pingula dipile nifie efe continent uyu mulandu na lero bala wibukisha na munganda mafunde wali so uyu mweshi wakwire MP aisa mukuimyebele ushe mkwaya balipire ndarama nibanga pali baja wasangire ku court no mandanga na chichiringo lingira ko munove echi bakakulingira abane swale mona kwa tifunde ili upingo shwe court ubuwatila urupapulo rumwatwala ku parliament mlefo kwikatako tachilo lele muyo so filo bali kuteko lero kuti chamuneka kwatina changuka bantu tapale ovenge kate ovenga kano umula ndoko mukuteko lero insta ikafika wingirire mu bambimi akalimbine mi akayisano ikapwa lero baisa kukurulo kuti la filamu ale bombera ko filamina ndu so I continue to caution my colleagues in government today and in parliament that as long as that ruling from the court has not been vacated, it is still in force. And we must be worried about the interpretation. Because good thing I start put down constituency, if I start to fight. Number one, what that would be the cost to the nation. I've given a classic example. If we go to Tadiapi Bireno Pembro, your face work of PF, the Api will happen to take up the Marine Fiend, the Piran in Dana. Number if you got them on a cover and support our much work take up. Limbutiva Puntash, Gorokaisa, or Puntash. But as they say, Mulan Dawola. So we must be worried that incumbency can get to our heads, and that's how even dictatorship begins. So, lastly, it's a matter of choice for those that want to participate in these processes. But those of us who have gone through some of these issues, they say once bitten, twice shy. Once bitten, twice shy. They do work a shepo, ito wa chapu chitikile po, kairi wa muko kisapona uswati ndepango mulani. So, we are going to stand with the people, and like I've always said, those of us who are respective to our shepherds of the church, we shall also respect their guidance, and that we shall do the right thing in line with what the people want. But the people of Zambia must not be so worried. Their time to speak is very near. We are just a few months away. Like where I come from, Valanda told each quite soon of Pangama women quibi. Pantunga Bakula said, for why show California. The two workers of Pamma Maccabi. As they say, no, we share a pay way. To share a Pumukumu. Can we tell you what report? There's only a full stamp was on the stone twice in interpretation. The Richard Sango can go more and watch Pua. Put a money tumfo. No marriage watching any much as on Porimpoto. Kumpanda. Chabutukana. Apatule, people have looked like they are the weakest. But their strength is coming in August. Baranda chicharo chawezi. Kaili charo mukungu takisani homo. Palina bashukuru wakaunda. Tualeti mankangara mshifukatilwa. mumulule sapanshi kaunda lero abantu bashitira shikuru uno mukuro kuya so tulina bana namba 7 no one number 8 Winyakenge. So to the Zambian people, batila uchenjeshi wankoko pungwa tasakamana washima famu mweba leli la uchenjeshi wankoko pungwa tasakamana mwale pembero mufundo 10 nembu tokulu ndapo lero no mbamu filuro kufora nenda na mpafi mwadi mwemwe. It's a sad story. It's so sad. Lero lesaka pale fi mukasadike ichimishimishi mukasadiki chefie panduna tuishiba muri aba kalipwa bakutila tetimuse kwa bulo kutilo umuntu namusungira kangwe eko mwabombera na bamboya besuko uchipata rwangeni Petauke, Katete, we feel you, our farmers, and all the farmers across the country, we feel for you. And we sympathize with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kampiongo. Just a quick comment. I think Honorable Kampiongo came out very strongly on the issue of by-elections. We must be very clear that the past 4 years, we've had a number of by-elections. When you interrogate further, you discover that these by-elections were actually initiated by the UPND. The by-elections at councillor level, the by-elections at parliamentary level were actually initiated by the UPND. So the call by Honorable Campion that instead of giving Bill 7 as an excuse to cure by-elections, the UPND should change their ways. The UPND were initiating by-elections at councillor level by enticing councillors to join the executive as teachers, nurses, and so on. And these were in cases where we have had volunteers volunteering for even over 3 years. The volunteers are not given an opportunity to get employed. Instead, they entice a councillor to create a by-election. So the Zambian people, please know this. Ama by-elections twale pitamo. By UPND, because of their recklessness, went out to create and initiate these by-elections. You find that there are volunteers everywhere in the country, in the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and in government generally. So when there were vacancies, instead of considering volunteers, the UPND went to entice councillors to resign. So they have no moral right to actually talk about doing away with by-elections. If you compare the number of by-elections that we've had in this period compared to by-elections in the same period and the reasons for these by-elections, you discover that there was total responsibility. The other point is on CDF. The distribution of CDF is not in the Constitution. The distribution of CDF is not in the Constitution. If at all government wanted to increase CDF allocation to constituencies that are vast, they can do that without amending the Constitution. We've got countries that came and copied CDF from us, like Kenya. They've come up with a formula on how to distribute CDF. They've come up with a formula based on demographics and other parameters. So CDF, there's nothing in the Constitution that stops government from increasing CDF based on the size of constituencies. I'll give you an example. For instance, it's 70 kilometers on one side and 100 kilometers on the other. So it would basically swallow all the constituencies in Lusaka. But the population is small. The population is small. So there's no justification to increase or indeed amend the Constitution so as to provide for how this CDF will be distributed, or indeed be forced to do delimitation based on 70 kilometers by 100 to acquire 100 kilometers on one side and 70 on the other side. Kalimi in Malole has got 300 kilometers within the constituency. Fuwe, on the other hand, has maybe 3 areas. Fuwe, Mulenga, Francis. Kuriama swamps, Kuriama and Kuri mainland. So focus here CDF is not always based on the size, the geographical size of the constituency. So Mwilabe, Pokutifia, Likulisha, so no. If government was serious with development, they could have taken development even using mainstream funding from government, not only relying on CDF. So Mwikabepwa, when they're debating, CDF should not be the excuse for delimitation, because CDF can be increased. Government can still fund constituencies that are geographically big in size using other means from government, and not necessarily CDF. So Kanshi, I thought this was very, very important. And secondly, even when they argue that, the Constitution talks about the review of boundaries. Review does not mean increase. You can review and maintain the same number. You can review and reduce the same number. So when government is reviewing these constituencies, they take into account movements of people in and out of these areas. Sometimes because of climate change and certain changes within the constituency, people would move to one side and maybe other sides are left vacant. So people should not be fooled into believing that review necessarily means increasing. So this is very, very important. We, for instance, have what? We have certain constituencies like Momba. Momba has only got 3 wards, but it gets the same CDF as Fuwe Mulenga in Chilubi. 22 with 22 wards.
24. And
yes.
So
Kasempa also gets the same CDF as Momba constituency with 3 wards. So there has to be a formula based on demographics, a formula that takes into account the size, so we can cure the challenges to do with CDF just with the formula, away from amending the Constitution. So the motivation to amend the Constitution using the CDF argument must collapse now. Don't allow anyone to come on the floor of the House, Yomkwai, Fialikulisha, and so on and so forth. Look at Mandevu. Mandevu maybe has 1 million people, okay? And Mandevu as a constituency should have 200,000 voters. It still gets the same CDF as Momba with 3 wards. So what are you going to do with Mandevu? You are going to cut it into how many? Into how many constituencies? So government has to be sincere. Government has got to come out in the open and talk to the Zambian sincerity. So the challenge we have, because even the constitution amendment clauses were generated by themselves. They were generated by themselves. They didn't listen to the people. Had they gone down to hear what the people have got to say, they were going to come up with meaningful proposed amendments, not what they're feeding us with. So please, President Hakainde Hichilema, you can't continue hiding in CDF and CDF distribution. We know that CDF is not the main source of funding to these constituencies. Because if, for instance, I was also calculated the other time, the UPND government has distributed or has approved budgets up to 900 billion in the past 4 years. But only 19 billion goes towards CDF. Why should we base constitution amendments on 19 billion? Why should we even think about this 19 billion to be the reason why we are bringing about this delimitation? 900 billion, only 20 billion is going towards CDF. 880 billion, we don't even know where it goes. Why can't they take development to these areas using 800 billion? They're focused on the 19 billion. So that excuse must fall. I just thought, Honorable Gampiago, that we must bring out, the idea is to call out the UPND for what they are. They will come to the floor of the House and begin to tell the Zambian people stories about why the Constitution must be amended. As Honorable Kafoya already observed, we have colleagues in government today who are not in the habit of telling the truth. They don't like telling the truth. You listen to their ministers, come for interviews, come for debates. They just can't tell the truth. Even when we can read the judgment from the Concord that invalidated Bill 7, A minister will still want to argue to say, no, this particular bill is okay. The process was wrong, but the bill is okay. We are saying to you that that is a fruit from a poisonous tree. You can't maintain it. It has no legs to stand on. So our call to the UPND, for once, learn to start telling the truth. Zambians are simply tired of your habits of not telling the truth. Why can't you tell the truth for once? It's very, it's a source of concern, honorable members of parliament. Why can't the government officials just tell the truth? This is a bad bill. This bill was condemned by the Concord. This bill is now void. It's a nullity. It doesn't exist at law. So even as we contribute, we want to enlighten the Zambian people to know that even as the bill is before parliament, it's actually void. It's now void. It is a nullity. It's non-existent at law. At this point, I would like to invite the Honorable Kampampi Kawaso, Member of Parliament from Ansabomwe, to just share his thoughts about this illegal
Thank you very much. Let me start by acknowledging the protocols which have already been established. To start with, it's very difficult even to speak to this document in the first place because this document was called to be unconstitutional by the Constitutional Court. First and foremost, Zambians, let us look at what is happening in this country. I don't think amending the Constitution is the priority which Zambians are looking for. First of all, we want to expand the number of parliament when already we are facing so many challenges even at parliament. If you look at way back where committees used to travel year in, year out, those things are not happening because of lack of resources. Yet we want to expand the numbers of members of parliament to 211. This is uncalled for. Zambians, what are looking for now is the government which is going to fix the economy, not the government which wants to expand on the already overcrowded expenditure of government. Appoint that technical committee. It's straightforward. It's because of the ruling which came out of court, where the court ruled that there was no wider consultation on the process which came up with the bill numbers about this bill. And again, I'll keep on saying it will be very difficult for me even to go into details of the content of this bill, because in the first place, this bill itself, it has been ruled to be unconstitutional. So let us not dwell on the content of this bill when we have already been told to say the process which made this bill to come up is unconstitutional. So my fellow Zambians and my fellow members of parliament out there, let us stand with the people of Zambia. Let us protect Mother Zambia. We've only got one Zambia, and this is the Zambia we will live for our children. There won't be any Zambia which our children will look up to when we make we were to vote for this bill. Government have come, government have gone. Zambians, let us open our eyes and see what exactly this government is trying to do. We are basically trying to put more power in one person. How can a president, just one person, appoint more than 30 members of parliament to parliament? Who are these people going to be representing? They will basically be representing the president. They will have the interest of the president first than the Zambian people. So, to this, I think, let us not even agree and support these amendments to these bills. If this bill was straightforward and this bill was okay, why are we seeing brown envelope throwing a brown envelope moving around at Parliament Motel and the premises of Parliament itself? It's a clear message to the Zambian people to say there must be something wrong then to this to this bill. If the bill was straightforward, why are you then paying the people to vote for this bill? Which I don't think is the right thing. And just to conclude, Most of the things have already been spoken to the fellow speakers who spoke earlier than me. This bill is not good for the Zambian people. This bill doesn't mean well to the Zambian people. And it's high time we started respecting our courts. It's high time we started respecting the judgments which come out of court. And one other thing, if they are saying there are no issues with this bill, why have they gone to court to appeal against the ruling which was passed against this bill? That tells you to say what we are doing is basically unconstitutional. So it's high time we focus on things which will make the Zambian people move out of the poverty which they are going through at this particular moment. Zambian people want the government which will sort out the issue of load shedding. Zambian people want the government which will sort out which will lower the cost of fuel. Zambian people want the government which will lower the cost of living for the Zambian people in terms of minimum and other essential commodities. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want Fabiano can proceed to speak to.
Thank you so much, and you were right on the protocols already established. When I came to Parliament in 2021, I sought to protect, defend, and preserve the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. And now it is such a time that has come for me to group myself with the like-minded members of Parliament, seniors, and all those that stand on the side of the people during this period that the UPND wants to defile and rape our Republican Constitution. That must be stopped within the legal means and within everything that we can do as members of Parliament. I want to assure the Zambian people and the people of Mpika that sent me to Parliament that I'm not here to represent myself, but I'm here to represent your interests. I'm here to only support that which you also support. I'm here to only do what you, the people, deem very right. As such, I will not participate in the illegal constitution-making process, which will be taking place on Monday next week. The church has spoken, the Law Association of Zambia has spoken, all the stakeholders of the Republic of Zambia have spoken. Who am I as a single member of Parliament to go and support Bill 7 and say, no, I'm supporting Bill 7 because there is delimitation. No, I'm supporting Bill 7 because Mpika will be delimited. I mean, who would risk eating a fruit just rest with poison just because it's sweet? Only a fool can do that. And only a mad person can do that. That I shall not do. I will not give a constitution, a bad constitution, to the Republic of Zambia. This constitution as it stands, this proposed bill as it stands, intends to give majority seats to a sitting president who, and if that is done, we risk this president to come back again after the 26 general elections and demand to amend the constitution to remove the term limit. That we shall not do. There is an example in the Congo Brazzaville. President Denis Sassou Nguesso was democratically elected. And when he was democratically elected, he decided to change the constitution to have more members of parliament to his side. And when that happened, the next thing that followed, he removed the presidential term limit. He also removed the presidential age limit to make himself run for president as many times as he could. We can't do that as a country here in Zambia. The parliament exists to check the powers of the executive. And if now parliament is given to the executive, which institution will check the powers of the executive on behalf of the Zambian people. This constitution just wants, bill just wants to save the interest of the UPND government. I have sat here whilst my colleagues were speaking. I was meditating, asking God, why at this particular time have you given us such a government? We are a Christian nation, for God's sake. And to la pepa fe wino pepa kwile sakabumba mkulu kwa timwele samule tusungile chalo chesu. Lelo shire mwene kecha mkosera inengo muntu so kutontonkani kutinatuwa to uteko. Uwinga posa amano mkuchinjo urupapulo. Panshite abantu bale chula mini bale fa kumula no kuchula. Abantu bale lalensa. Ululu ishiro wabo abantu bale lalilo wo. Ubuteko wa waya bula bule posol pia mukule mbululo urupapulo. Urupapulo urushire aje. Mwebe na Zambia. Mwebe kalacha. Ndetira. Lolekesheni pafile chita ba UPND. Ego ibukisheni ukutila. Ululu papulonga lwapitile. Amaka yenu nishi bachefya. Pantu muri ululu papulo muri no kufayo ukutila. Ba MP nga ba expelled. Aba suspended na ngwachita resign. Nangulesa kabumba mkulunga musendafo. Ama political parties yakalesa la frame pinga tomato basala batino ku MP twamalete. Now abula no kweba ati secretary to the cabinet who acts as the principal advisor to the president and the government. Balefire ale kwata for 5 years experience at permanent secretary level. Echa abantu bale ikisisho kya bushe mumano ya kuri umuntu obakweto kwebati akabe pali kiri kifuno mbatakwani shefi kuri abale ikushefi and tapali wa UPND na ngumo kuwa yasukeli ikusho bantu lyonseri uropapulo wabo bayikala muri English na secretary to the cabinet uya kaya untu akwete 10 years experience at permanent secretary level nishi balefa ilo kuchinji fish balefa afisuti echa abantu bale ikisisho kutira limbi na bakwata umuntu bo balefu kutyaka ibali chichifulo no mbatara kwanisha imyaka gushechocho tunga chichinjisha po constitution umusambo wako bacho umuntu umona alefu aye chichifulo. That is a mediocrity of the highest order, and it must not be supported by anyone who is very sane. The UPND government has gone wrong, and it's high time that we demanded to tame its wrongness. We can't continue on this trajectory. The people have spoken to say, don't amend the constitution. It's not an emergency. Neither is it very urgent for you to amend the constitution. They've totally refused to listen to the people. The same people who elected them. So today, if they've failed to listen to the people, how will they listen tomorrow if they attempt to amend the constitution again and remove the presidential limit? Who will they listen to? They will never listen to anyone. Just like they have refused to listen now, they can, even in the future, refuse to listen and do anything they can to our constitution. I want to appeal to my fellow members of parliament. The constituents that you are holding on now is not yours. It belongs to the people. The same people who have said no to Bill 7. Who are you to stand and say, yes, I'm supporting Bill 7 because I want my constituents to be delimited? It is not your constituents. Listen to what the people have said. The people that sent you to parliament, listen to what they have said. Bushemwe bantu na nkubulwa mani. Kuchiwa ya support ulupapulo wa msangwefu. Ulupapulo lwelo lupelo kubantu awa kupela nye chifulo cha MP. Nangu waliwa patawe kala cha ute chuchite cha msangwefu. Nishifyeni weka shika bomi. Ba UPND muri uteko uwa waka shika bomi. Eyo tamwa kwa tano ruse kubalanda. Amukwata ruse kubalanda. Tetimwime nopo mwikero kutimupangila wekala charo ulupapulo wa msangwefu. Ala naba wililo buntungwa bwachalo chesu konzoko balala imibiri shabo shireku mkuruka mumanda panta kwabo butungurushi ubwa msangwefu. There's never been a time that any one of us would expect our country to go through what is going through at the hands of the UPND government. Kuri mwebana ba MP ndewekesha tien tukutike kufya bekala chalo balela inshita tulipo kaine inshita yakuwala no kupepera po ukulomba maka kulile sakabumba mkulu kwe batenga kutungulula ponsopoli wituntumba okuchitefya kumtu obe chitefyo abekala chalo balefwaye pepa kulile sakabumba mkulu kuti akutungulule umulimo tukala bomba pamande umulimo ukala bombeko pamande mulimo wabekala chalo umuntu uli wonso wate mwabekala chalo tetaya asuminisho kuti urupapuro ulona na constitutional court yala ndokutira talwaya mbokulinga nefunde luingapita no kuperwa kubekala chalo unless umuntu waitemwa sana ukuchiro kutemwa abekala chalo inenga mwana kapyanga member of parliament uwa abekala chalo bapere umulimo wa member of parliament ukumufunya mu Bulanda urupapuro nali lukana ero nshaka sangweko noko bakala bombela pali urupapuro Fiyanara pilokwe batinkala imini no washipa no kuchita protect and defend the constitution chile pilibula ishifire na chita participate pantu na chila chile nala pilepo bali sunga kulia abakesa po bakesa abura ya mapepa no kuyafukulula bakatile busheni bali basangirweko iyo efya iligo vyale chitika na ile wina ile nala pilepo bakaya isenda bakacheki bushena pakupanga urupapuro na lisangwa ngana sangwa tina lisangwa kuti bankakira po pakuyabule chirapo chandi kukana na chikonka amen mwebekala chalo tumineni ba member of parliament wenu amafoni konsoko muri bule ni foni yambeni kutumina member of parliament wenu kutira witulekelesha we support urupapuro panduri onse member of parliament wala support urupapuro ni shaka kulensa rufutete eyo ni shami posa mukanwa kankala ngachiri chakwe bati ba UPND tabakweto bufuntungu muri urupapuro ninshi bakosereko ninshi bominenga pamukonzo wakamukolo eyo chinshi tunkire nguri bantu batiro muswe matawe butukira kama kubicha tunkire nguri mwebe kala chalo mwebe na Zambia inshita ya pamande ukwamba mailolo tukaya mkusalika salikeni kulile sakabumba mkulu kabili lombe yokutira ba MP wenu abapela makana amano ayakuya chite chintu echituntulu ne chintu chako kitachilife chimo kukana ulupapulo lwabakashika woni ulupapulo luko naula imitekelo ya chalo chesu mwebekala chalo kuti mwaipusha ulupapulo lwako atefu pande fibili ichichi pande balefo kuchita amendi nechipande ko mwebekala chalo mwapero ensambu ishafe wechalo uteko kufire kule misunga ninshi basalira ko fyo kule mbulula kuchipande chako bapere fifulo bashe chipande chako mipere ensambu okutira mule pokero mfundo wa kwana okutira mule pokero uyantansho wa kwana okutira mule pokero amasambiro ya kwana okutira mule sange mtimfatalesha kwana kyonse fyota bafita balefo kuchita amendi bayam kuchita amendi okutira bale pere fifulo babululu shabo abana babo namakadazi babo na imoko kunse mule tota ba UPND abena Zambia tebakusenteka umfweni kubena Zambia fyo balelanda abena Zambia bali kana urupapuro kupitira mu MPs babo bali kana urupapuro kupitira muri bashima pepo wabo bali kana urupapuro kupitira mu stakeholders yabo umfweni kufyo abekala chalo balelanda mwibule nifyo urupapuro muruchite withdraw from parliament pakwe bati mwinga konkanyako ukubomba ko fimbi ili mule chite fya urupapuro ifyalo ifyaba serious nga mwaya ku Kenya bale pange nyanja kufuma ku Mombasa yenyanja ikalaenda 1 hour on a stretch of 400 kilometers ili mule chite ifya mungu ifyalo pakuro ichalo cha Ethiopia na chipanga damu ya kupompa malaiti ukarapangwa malaiti 6550 megawatts imwe kuti mwaya ikalafio kula pose ishitano rupia kufyalo pakuro ilulu pakuro barata mpokulisha bena Zambia finshi basakira mu abena Zambia mufifulo fyo mwakwata I mean kwa ino waile kuchilimbalisa mkula ndokutira mone nine nafuma kuno bali mpele chifulo cha mu minister so tungirire nyo urupapuro kuchifulo chobe cha mu minister finshi bali yako abekala chalo apart from iwo kulya weka nabana bo ubule no urupapuro lwabipange fyo bapele eyo bali kupero bakubika pachamba so bakupero utungushi ubule wabi wakakira umunwe kumona urubango bapera urupapuro rwa bipefi ala muri babiri mu bakashika bombi ubutekeshibwa musango efi kabiri ukubula abekara cyaro kubasenda muri yishamba senderemo tachiwe twalakonkanya ko mailo kwamba lelo mailo na pamande pele ile ni pali abo bakapingira house oko tukekana tulepepa ukatilolevo tera parupapulo waisa sango kweba tingwe makunkutu ukatilolevo tera parupapulo waisa sango kutule niwe chiburu pantule sakabumba mkuru ala twasuka kuri ba munyine fwe wonse abale umfwa ndetira tumine liba member of parliament benu bebe nyukutira be supporta urupapuro nga mwanutungirira ninshi ichalo chesu icha Zambia mwaona wala natotera mkwa
Waina pakulekeresha kwena ndesuro mwaicha wandu mwina mpiko yutendana kwe wapakana na kwe mpaka aso ndwele landangu noshi pakulomba makakwa kaumba mkuru kutila inga mwini milimu ya pamandi palichimo mfoika kumbe lelo na mkusondwele china mwana mwenyena niwekele hapa walichiloro wa uteko walero esha pafya maraiti na mafuta baona limu mabomba bali bachiloro wa uteko liletwa kuteko ififi ya maraiti ya ishirishu kwa kumuna nduwa chila na chamfula ya shupile kwa kupano na kwena watu kushabawa ishishi menga kuna tota fanto leo murumendo alero isha pa maraiti atila tutote ifi ya lepela kwa chalo amaraiti pansa itatu pati 3 hours utatu teleko kwa fya bombe umwacho andala ndo kutila bashima famu bosuna batule chine ifolo to ale sunga bashima famu to ashane fya ko ya matala we left stocks of maize which was sold by Honorable Dorobi bale chinifoba ba farmer kanshi katwali ba farmer bebe nana bashika abano mbana bashika bashima famu ushikirira shi bantu efe bachusha bashima famu tapali uingasekera moyo ezo turanda tapali bashima famu sana abantu limited beshwe insala nyindi mu tempulirwa yo ero bonse na mbutu bora mwabe no mwa kwete futushi kwa kuti muombe koma nawo dia insala kapondo so if wale ponyensala wa UPND mukana kwa samano kwa bashima famu wale ponya fields na mchana esa kama kutukwete that's our one. The food security of this country will be compromised as we go into next year. Tuamfile baleti bala makabili cash for work. When you should have been increasing the number of fiscal beneficiaries so that they increase production. On one hand, Bamtoro, you are saying you are looking forward to 10 million metric tons. Where is that 10 million metric tons going to come from if you are reducing the number from the current 1 million fish beneficiaries to about 600? Mulefoku abantu bakalelima lero tamulefa filisho kutaba bakwate ifibombero nefe balingiro kumva pokulima. We have committed ourselves as people's representatives. One, to defend the Constitution, as we did swear in at the beginning of our tours of duty. Kanshituliawa ishtika kutila twala kutililo kumono kutilo lupapuro lwachalo ngafira twala ile filayo kwa mbemili mutwaya mba twali kisashani twalitungirira umwaicho wanda chanda pele ashiri likankali chinechi ubuteko government the civil service is run by the engine called Cabinet Office. And at the helm of that engine is the Secretary to the Cabinet. This is the senior most job in the civil service. Now you can imagine if someone to just become a head teacher of a school, a head teacher, before even an HOD, head of department, needs more than 5 years of experience to become an administrator. Others even stay for more than 20 years before they can be considered for such responsibilities. HOD same. And the government is structured in lower management, mid-management, up to upper management. You've got assistant directors before one becomes a director. You require competence apart from necessary qualification requisites. You need proper experience. It's not a minor undertaking to run government machinery. So to try and reduce running of government to an aspect of saying anyone can join government and within 5 years someone can be at the helm of government machinery is a joke. And I will apologize to the people, two people I'm going to call upon who are still alive. Mr. Leslie Mbula, former senior civil servant who also occupied this office of Secretary to the Cabinet, and Dr. Simon Miti, former Secretary to the Cabinet and Private Secretary at State House. And I'm sure Mr. Kanganja, Dr. Kanganja is still with us. We call upon you to advise the head of state, the president. You are still alive, and let the nation benefit from you. You know what it takes to run government machinery. Please advise wisely. Use your wisdom. Ndelomba wafyasha abawa chilipo aba bomba po emilimo yabu kalemba mukalamba wa uteko. Balezi Mbula epo mchili na wa Dr. Simon Miti abo ndipo shuwa sana. Eweni bakateka pandemiko bakateka mano pali ichi tetubule fe muntu wayingire bya bushiku ewe tire sesande po echo buteko bule filo bombe bilimo yalo ndoroka pandunga mwatumuloleshe. Most of our competent civil servants today are sitting at home getting paid because they've been sidelined. You can see, those of us who have been in government, those of us who have worked in government, you can see the lapses in functions of government. They are very clear for everyone to see. Now you want to even dilute the topmost job. How can you think like that? That's what, these are the proposals in this. But I'm calling upon these two distinguished former public servants, Dr. Simon Miti and Mr. Leslie Mbula. Advise wisely on this one. And you should have been the authority to speak to this matter. Because everybody who has been speaking to this matter have been speaking from lack of knowledge. You know what it takes to run government machinery. You can't reduce it to that kind of pettiness. Twamulomba. Mona uleko film ubuteko na ifu tulefo kwisa kusanga buno kwino. Pantu civil service engine, it must outlive the cycles of political leadership. We shall continue talking, and those who would want to find out clarifications from us, we are available as a public servant to respond to your questions, either by phone or any other means. We cannot our citizens that we shall stand with them. That's a request I was making to the Honourable Vice President yesterday. and it's a request to continue.
I want to just state two points. What is true is that this is phase 1 of constitution amendment by the UPND. Controversial as this bill is, they are calling it non-contentious. This bill is non-contentious because this is the most contested bill in the history of constitution making in Zambia. But to the UPND, that is non-contentious. So you can only imagine what to be content in what they may term as a contentious one. So Zambians be warned. This is phase 1. It is phase 1 because they said we will deal with non-contentious clauses, meaning a time will come when, in their view, they will be dealing with contentious clauses. And at that time, it will be full-time dictatorship. So please be warned. On the issue of the Secretary to Cabinet, those that have worked in the civil service actually understand why we have problems today. We have problems today because most of the civil servants with experience have been packed away. In the civil service, the assistant directors have got postgraduate experience of between 5 to 10 years, in fact, of over 10 years. The directors are those with experience of about 15 years. Now, how do you want to reduce the experience by the civil servant number 1 to 5 years when his juniors need 15 years to get to the position of director? So clearly, President Daka in each level, we don't play with constitution making like that. You don't start with a name in mind, a friend in mind, and then you rush to Parliament to amend the constitution to accommodate friends to these senior positions. It's very shameful. Please abandon this route. You will not go to amend the constitution to accommodate a friend who is ill-qualified or a friend who is not qualified, and is not qualified because he has not served enough time within government. Please know that the civil service is structured. People earn these positions on account of time that they serve. So Zambians, please resist these amendments. That is our appeal. We'll continue to speak to you tomorrow so that you remain aware of what is happening in your parliament. Thank you very much.